Well, the new British Prime Minister has upset the leftie lovies and climate alarmists in Europe, right across the UK too. He is the new prime enemy for the loud and angry Green movement. Rishi Sunak has announced that he will not be attending the COP27 climate summit in Egypt next month. And it's almost as if he's committed murder on the world's environment. Head of politics at Green Alliance, Chris Venables, described Sunak's decision to miss COP27 as a massive strategic error within the context of current global instability. Newsom, head of politics at Greenpeace UK, said Sunak's decision was akin to a runner failing to turn up with the baton at a crucial stage of the relay. And the British Labour Party has savaged him as you'd expect.
Prime Minister should be going to COP. He needs to show leadership. This is a hugely important issue, climate change. It's wound together with the energy crisis, and I think many people would be expecting the Prime Minister of the UK not just to attend COP, but to use it as an opportunity to pull world leaders together to deal with climate and to deal with energy. And if that doesn't happen, it's a failure of leadership.
There is a war on you dope. Now, the Prime Minister's office said other senior ministers are going instead, so he's not leaving it abandoned from any UK representation. It'll allow him to focus on domestic issues and a major fiscal statement because they want a fiscal statement immediately. Good on him, I say. Under Boris Johnson, Britain did their bit and more, which is one of the main reasons the UK is struggling with baseload power and power prices at the moment. They thought the renewable religion was the way forward, and they've learnt the hard way that it just can't replace fossil fuels and nuclear for baseload power, especially when a war's on. Sunak doesn't need to go to Egypt next month. He's got a country in serious economic trouble, ironically driven in part by their climate promises made at previous COP events. He doesn't need to be lectured again by third world countries about how Britain has to pay them for CO2 emissions. And he certainly doesn't need to make any further grand promises, as the Labor Party pointed out, to limit CO2 by closing down more coal and gas-fired stations. Europe and the UK need to press pause on this net zero pledge. Even Boris Johnson recognised that in his final stages. And they need to do all they can to keep the lights on, keep business running, keep factories up and running, and prevent Brits from dying in this power price crisis. That is the priority now, and it's a priority for most of the world. The UK alone has a budget shortfall of as much as £40 billion, and that is 72 billion Australian dollars. That is a parlous scenario when you consider that rising inflation is layered upon all of that pain. Nations right across Europe have pivoted back to coal as they wean themselves off Russian gas. They have to. These green zealots have to realise there is a war on. The game has changed. A reset is in progress. As the Herald Sun reported this weekend, bold predictions were made at last year's COP26 event in Glasgow that the end of coal was nigh. Well, that's proven to be premature and total rubbish. Germany, Austria, Poland, Italy, the Netherlands and Greece, they're all turning back to coal-fired power to keep the lights on. The International Energy Agency revealed this week that demand for coal had soared 10% in some countries and production had struggled to keep pace with the sudden surge. The demand is real. The reality of baseload power supplies has finally hit home. It's hit the world. Which brings me to Australia and a government that Sky News revealed today earlier has been told by the energy regulator to do something right now to keep power prices down and to increase supply. Well, they are standing by and just watching this spiral out of control. Nothing was done in that last budget last week to force power prices down or increase supply. They lost the opportunity. To keep suggesting that their renewable plan will create price relief, I'm sorry, it's a lie. Any advantage from building solar farms and wind turbines is decades down the track, if at all. And as they all rave about renewable energy, they fail to explain that to connect all of this new energy to the grid, we need to spend $100 billion rolling out a whole new transmission network. That is not a cheap option. Nowhere near it. We're supposed to trust Chris Bowen, the man leading us through this renewable nirvana. Well, he's anti-coal, he's anti-gas, he's anti-nuclear, he's a renewable evangelist, and yet there he was today making promises he can't keep about increasing the supply of gas and keeping prices down.
The federal government will not stand by and allow these pressures to flow through to households and to industry without taking any prudent, responsible and careful action, and we won't go a day earlier, we won't act a day earlier than until we're sure about the policy settings, and nor will we wait a day longer.
What are they waiting for? For our power prices to triple, quadruple? They need to take action yesterday. They ignored the opportunity in crafting the budget. The energy regulator has said, act now. But what they will do in the weeks ahead is send the Prime Minister to the COP27 climate conference. Anthony Albanese will travel to Egypt to play the green card, to shake hands with Joe Biden, to rave about his renewable future. He won't be putting the problems facing Australia first like Rishi Sunak is. He'll be swanning around Egypt, waxing lyrical about the green revolution in Australia. And yet not one location in the world has been able to rely on renewables alone to keep the lights on. But when you become evangelist, you see, the danger signs, well, they just fade into oblivion. You can't see them. A little bit like this country's fortunes right now.